Hey everyone, welcome back to all my listeners. This is episode 9 in season 12. Today is Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. Now, all right, you guys, this is a big day for Paint the Medical Picture podcast. That's right, it's a big day. Today is the 200th episode drop. I'm so proud of the reporting quality of the healthcare compliance news that's been delivered worldwide over these 200 podcast episodes. And of course, I've been honored to have so many fans subscribe and tune in from week to week. Please continue sending me all of your 5-star ratings and your amazing glowing reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to my Paint the Medical Picture YouTube channel. Now, I wanted to thank all of my previous guests over these many years, all of the interviews I've conducted, and I've heard all of my guests' journeys and their stories that they've been willing to open up and share on my podcast. And I can't wait for all that's yet to come. And maybe you've noticed my 200th episode album art refresh. I knew personally it was time for an album art refresh. I have so much creativity and I wanted to put it into another album art. So give me your feedback if you like what I've done for the 200th episode album art. Now, anyway, you guys, I just wanted to give Paint the Medical Picture podcast a big shout out for today. It's 200th episode drop. I'm so proud of all of the content that's being pushed out by this podcast over these many episodes. All right, you guys, now let's get into today's episode. It's the last Wednesday of the month, so you know it's my Newsworthy fraud, waste, and abuse highlights for the month of June. And of course, I'll spotlight some of those from the month's criminal and civil enforcement cases that I find newsworthy. And in my Trusty Tip, I wanted to highlight a local coverage article or an LCA update within the National Government Services Medicare Administrative Contractors website for sacroiliac injections. That's a mouthful. So it's an LCA update within the NGS MAC for sacroiliac injections. Can't wait to give you those pro tips. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and close out and round out today's episode with another remarkable quote on collaboration by Booker T. Washington. This episode is sponsored by Advanced Coding Services. Let's get into it. Today's episode is sponsored by Advanced Coding Services, a leading medical billing and medical coding school in the United States. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned professional, our training equips you with the tools and support you need to advance your career. Our medical billing and coding school meets your needs worldwide online or in person with one-on-one support throughout your training. We are committed to helping our alumni and credentialed medical community in keeping up their certifications by offering various avenues for acquiring your continuing education units. In addition to our Mastering the Business of Medicine retreats, offered several times throughout the year in different parts of the country, we now offer memberships. You can conveniently earn your CEUs by attending our exclusive members-only webinars. Since our aim is to nurture and grow the careers of individuals who work in the business of medicine, we call our member area the Apple Orchard. Advanced Coding Services, educate, nurture, inspire, reaching back with a hand up. So, let's get into Newsworthy, the month's fraud, waste, and abuse cases. The month of June saw 34 cases as of the recording of this episode. Early June saw a Wellesley psychiatrist who was sentenced to over 8 years in prison for $19 million worth of insurance fraud schemes. He also billed insurance companies for thousands of services he never provided. Here, this Wellesley psychiatrist was sentenced for billing Medicare and private insurance companies for over $19 million in treatments he did not provide and for obstructing justice in an attempt to conceal his crimes. This man was sentenced by the U.S. District Court judge on the case to 99 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. He was also ordered to pay restitution and forfeiture in an amount to be determined at a later hearing. In October 2023, following a jury trial, he was convicted of 7 counts of wire fraud, 6 counts of false statements relating to healthcare matters, and 1 count of obstructing a criminal healthcare investigation. He was a licensed psychiatrist who owned and operated Advanced TMS Associates located in Massachusetts. Among other services, he offered transcranial magnetic stimulation therapy, or TMS therapy, as well as psychotherapy to his patients suffering from depression. TMS therapy is a non-invasive method of brain stimulation that uses rapidly alternating or pulsed magnetic fields to induce electrical currents directed at a patient's cerebral cortex. Between January 2015 and December 2018, he engaged in a variety of fraudulent billing schemes in which he sought and received reimbursement for $19 million in services he did not render. For example, he billed Medicare and private insurers $10.6 million for thousands of TMS sessions he never provided, including over 8,000 sessions he claimed were provided to 74 patients who, in fact, never received a single TMS session. He also billed Medicare and private insurers for millions of dollars worth of psychotherapy sessions he never provided, including over 900 face-to-face sessions he falsely claimed he provided while he was on vacation in locations like the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, as well as the Czech Republic. On 382 days, he billed Medicare and private insurers for having provided more than 24 hours worth of psychotherapy services in a single day, including one day in July 2017 when he claimed he had provided hour-long psychotherapy sessions to 70 different patients, all while outside the United States on vacation. With the proceeds of this fraud, he paid off a $1.8 million home in Wellesley, Massachusetts. He purchased over $600,000 worth of jewelry from Cartier, Van Cleef & Arpels, as well as Tiffany's. He also purchased a $2.1 million vacation home in Nantucket. To further his fraudulent billing scheme, he made numerous false statements to his patients, the billing company he worked with, and the insurers to whom he submitted claims seeking reimbursement. When Medicare and private insurers sought records from him to justify his exorbitant claims, he took steps to conceal his fraud by creating and forcing his employees to create fake patient records to send to Medicare and private insurers. He continued his obstructive behavior when, in response to a July 2018 subpoena from the HHS-OIG, he created and produced additional fake patient records purporting to show patients had received dozens of treatments that had never happened, and which falsely represented that the condition of those patients was improving. Mid-June saw a founder/CEO and clinical president of a digital health company arrested for a $100 million Adderall distribution and healthcare fraud scheme. This is the Justice Department's first criminal drug distribution prosecution case related to a digital health company that distributed controlled substances via telemedicine. The founder/CEO of a California-based digital health company called Dun Global Inc. and its clinical president were both arrested in connection with their alleged participation in a scheme to distribute Adderall over the internet, to conspire to commit healthcare fraud in connection with the submission of false and fraudulent claims for reimbursement of Adderall and other stimulants, and to obstruct justice. According to court documents, the men allegedly conspired with others to provide easy access to Adderall and other stimulants in exchange for payment of a monthly subscription fee. The indictment alleges that the conspiracy's purpose was for the defendants to unlawfully enrich themselves by, among other things, increasing their monthly subscription revenue and therefore increasing the value of the company. Dun Global Inc., an online telehealth website, allegedly arranged for the prescription of over 40 million pills of Adderall and other stimulants and obtained over $100 million in revenue. The pair allegedly obtained subscribers by targeting drug seekers and spending tens of millions of dollars on deceptive advertisements on social media networks. They also allegedly intentionally structured the Dun Global platform to facilitate access to Adderall and other stimulants, including by limiting the information available to Dun Global prescribers, instructing Dun Global prescribers to take Adderall and other stimulants even if the Dun Global member did not qualify. They also mandated the initial encounters would be under 30 minutes. To maximize profits, the CEO/founder allegedly put in place a quote-unquote auto refill function that allowed Dun Global subscribers to elect to have a message requesting a refill be auto-generated every month. The CEO/founder wrote that Dun Global sought to, quote, use the comp structure to disencourage follow-up, end quote, medical care by refusing to pay Dun Global prescribers for any medical visits, any telemedicine consultation, or time spent caring for patients after an initial consultation, and instead paying only solely based on the number of patients who received prescriptions. The duo allegedly persisted in this conspiracy even after being made aware that material was posted on social networks about how to use Dun Global to obtain easy access to Adderall and other stimulants, and that Dun Global members had overdosed and died. They also allegedly concealed and disguised their conspiracy by making fraudulent representations to media outlets to forestall government investigations and actions and induce third parties to continue doing business with Dun Global. The indictment also alleges that both men conspired to obstruct justice after a grand jury subpoena was issued to another telehealth company, and in anticipation of a subpoena being issued to Dun Global, including by deleting documents and communications, they used encrypted messaging platforms instead of company email, and ultimately failing to produce documents in response to a subpoena issued to Dun Global by a federal grand jury. If convicted, the men each face a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison on conspiracy to distribute controlled substances and distribution of controlled substance counts. The DEA, HHS OIG, HSI, and IRS criminal investigation units are investigating this case. An indictment is merely an allegation. All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. Mid-June also saw the DOJ and Evergreen Treatment Services settle allegations regarding double billing of government health programs. The U.S. Department of Justice resolved double billing allegations against Evergreen Treatment Services. Evergreen Treatment Services will pay the government over $1.4 million to resolve the matter. According to the settlement agreement, in January 2020, Medicare began paying for drug treatment services, including medically assisted treatment. Evergreen, which is a nonprofit organization based in Seattle, Washington, submitted claims in 2020 from the period of January 1, 2020 to July 2020, and those claims were paid. The claims are paid weekly, and services are bundled. Medications, counseling, therapy, toxicology testing, intake activities, and periodic assessments are all billed under one billing code. Evergreen then knowingly resubmitted bills that had already been paid. This conduct continued from January 8, 2021 to February 26, 2021. Evergreen was improperly reimbursed for these services. These double billings totaled over $700,000. Of the over $1.4 million settlement, over $700,000 is restitution, and the rest is a penalty under the False Claims Act. Late June saw AverHealth to pay over $1.3 million to resolve False Claims Act allegations related to drug tests used in Michigan's Children's Protective Services and foster care programs. AverTest LLC, a forensic drug testing company based in Virginia and which does business nationwide under the name AverHealth, has agreed to pay over $1.3 million to settle allegations that it knowingly violated the False Claims Act by submitting improper claims for payment for drug tests to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, the MDHHS. In 2019, AverHealth began performing drug screening and confirmation testing for the state of Michigan's Children's Protective Services and foster care programs under a contract with the MDHHS. To pay for these services, the MDHHS utilized funds from the Social Services Block Grant, which provides annual federal assistance to states to support social service programs and is administered by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families. The settlement resolves allegations that from May 15, 2019 through November 30th of 2020, AverHealth violated the False Claims Act when it knowingly submitted or caused the submission of claims for payment to the MDHHS and knowingly made statements material to those claims which concerned positive drug test results for oral fluid samples that were not confirmed using a mass spectrometric method analytically different from the screening method and did not conform to the terms of the contract between Aver Health and the MDHHS. The civil settlement includes the resolution of claims brought by a female physician under the qui tam or whistleblower provisions of the False Claims Act. These provisions allow a private party known as a relator to file an action on behalf of the United States and receive a portion of any recovery. She will receive over $200,000 as a part of the settlement. Claims resolved by this settlement are allegations only, and there has been no determination of liability. There were many of the other usual suspects as well, from hospice cases, DME and telemarketing fraud schemes, and even multiple cases involving the pandemic and COVID-19, from COVID-19 testing schemes, vaccine card schemes, and even pandemic assistance fraud. But I wanted to pay particular attention to a mid-June case involving a U.S. attorney announcing 2 civil settlements nearing a total of $2 million, which are the latest actions in the national investigation into the improper billing involving the RST Synexus NeoGen series device, or Synexus for short. The settlements announced involve chiropractic clinics that principally used Synexus treatment for patients suffering from diabetic neuropathy. Synexus is an electric stimulation device marketed by RST Synexus Inc. to treat various forms of pain and other medical conditions. It consists of a large central unit and electrical leads that are temporarily affixed to the area being treated. Patients typically receive treatment on an outpatient basis and received 2 treatments per week for 12 weeks, for a total of approximately 24 treatments. Treatment times generally lasted approximately 30 to 40 minutes. In conjunction with Synexus treatment, the clinics injected patients with the vitamin blend. The settlements are pursuant to the Department of Justice's inability to pay policy. Now, Party A agreed to pay $1.9 million to resolve liability under the False Claims Act for the alleged improper billing of Synexus and TM flow devices, as well as epidermal nerve fiber density, or ENFD, testing. Now, Party B agreed to pay $52,000 to resolve liability under the False Claims Act for the alleged improper billing of the Synexus device and ENFD testing. Now, from approximately February 5th, 2020 through April 14th, 2022, Party A submitted over 67,000 claims for payments to Medicare involving application of the Synexus device, often billed with accompanying vitamin injections under various procedure codes and various injection codes as well. Because Party A refused to make its required settlement payments, the United States filed a complaint in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania to enforce the settlement agreement. Now, from approximately March 20th, 2019 through November 5th, 2020, Party B submitted approximately 33,000 claims for payment to Medicare involving application of the Synexus device, often billed with accompanying vitamin injections under various procedure codes and various injection codes. The United States contends that Medicare did not permit reimbursement of Synexus or vitamin injections used in conjunction with Synexus in the way in which both parties administered them. In particular, there is a National Coverage Determination 160.7 that states, quote, electrical nerve stimulation treatments furnished by a physician in his or her office by a physical therapist or outpatient clinic are excluded from coverage by Section 1862A(1) of the Act. Similarly, Local Coverage Determination, or LCD 35222, reinforces that, quote, the use of electrostimulation alone for the treatment of multiple neuropathies or peripheral neuropathies caused by underlying systemic diseases is not medically reasonable and necessary, end quote. Now, there are other LCDs as well that contain same or similar statements, such as an LCD L35456, L35457, L37642, L35222, and L36850. Now, the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, cleared Synexus as substantially equivalent to a transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulator, or TENS device, on or around January 24th of 2003. Now, Synexus treatment was not FDA cleared for use in combination with vitamin injections. The vitamin blend was not FDA approved, and the vitamin blend was produced in bulk rather than prescribed for individual patients. The United States also contends that vitamin injections used in conjunction with the Synexus treatment, as both parties administered them, do not fall under the limited coverage available for prescription drugs under Medicare Part B. The LCDs highlighted above reinforce that vitamin injections that act as nerve blocks are not medically reasonable and necessary. In addition, the United States contends that the various billing codes that both parties used are improper for the way in which it administered Synexus treatment and vitamin injections. For example, CPT code 97012 requires application of mechanical traction and patient supervision. CPT code 97016 applies to lymphedema treatment and requires patient supervision. And CPT code 97032 and 97112 require one-on-one patient contact. Both parties also submitted Medicare claims for testing used in conjunction with electric stimulation treatment, or ENFD testing, and or TM flow testing. ENFD testing involves performing a punch biopsy on patients to purportedly evaluate nerve damage that could be treated with the Synexus device. ENFD testing was also conducted after Synexus treatment purportedly to evaluate whether there had been an improvement to nerve health. The Synexus device, however, is not FDA cleared for healing or regrowing nerves. In addition, it was not medically reasonable or necessary to conduct additional testing related to electrical stimulation treatment, which was not covered by Medicare in the way in which both parties administered it. Patients experienced pain while undergoing the punch biopsy used for the ENFD testing. Now, during the time period in question, Party A submitted to Medicare approximately 1,500 claims for TM flow testing under the CPT codes 93922, 95921, 95923, and 95943, as well as nearly 70 claims for ENFD testing under codes 11104 and 11105. Now, Party A also submitted approximately 2,500 claims for Synexus treatment and TM flow testing to TRICARE, which is another federal healthcare insurance system for members of the military services and their families. Meanwhile, Party B submitted approximately 16 claims for ENFD testing and approximately 1,200 claims for Synexus treatment to TRICARE. The settled claims are allegations only. There has been no determination of civil liability. And now, it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. Let's go over some recent updates made to NGS's local coverage article, or LCA, on LCA number A59233 for billing and coding, sacroiliac joint injections, and procedures. Now, under the coding guidance for diagnostic and therapeutic procedures in the 6th paragraph, the new text that has been revised has removed, quote, G0260 should be reported with an imaging code specific to the imaging modality employed, end quote. So that line of text has been removed. And another removal was for report CPT code 77002 for fluoroscopic guidance, for CPT code 77012 for CT guidance in the ASC and the hospital outpatient department. Now, the language that was added to this particular LCA is, quote, the medical record must contain documentation that fluoroscopic guidance, or CT guidance, was used with HCPCS code G0260, end quote. And language also includes, quote, image guidance is packaged into G0260 and no separate payment is made to the ASC or OPPS hospital outpatient department for CPT codes 77002 and CPT code 77012, end quote. Now, additionally, there has been a change and a revision to the group of codes in paragraph 3. So the verbiage was revised to read, quote, for the ASC facility and OPPS hospital outpatient department claims only, end quote. So under Group 3 codes for the CPT codes 77002 and 77012, that was deleted. Under ICD-10-CM codes that support the medical necessity for Group 1 codes, the paragraph verbiage was added to state CPT codes 27096, 64451, and HCPCS code G0260. Now, all of these updates are effective as of January 25th, 2024. And finally, I focus Season 12 Spark on collaboration. I want this 12th season Spark to be filled with our role's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires the need for better understanding of the need for collaboration. So, in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from Booker T. Washington. If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. So very true, right? I think this quote reminds us that when we're feeling low, we need to bring someone else up. Positivity, kindness, and light radiate far and wide. I'm happy Booker T. Washington's spark still shines on in all of us today. So that wraps up today's episode, and as always, I appreciate you all diving into today with me. If you want more information from me, please go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn. I'll leave links to everything in the show notes below. Now, all right, you guys, don't forget to catch my LinkedIn Live broadcast with Betty Hovey on Friday for our very last Compliance Capers in the month of June. We've devoted this entire month to the Targeted Probe and Educate program. And on Friday, we're going to be having a conversation about a current TPE on cataract surgeries. Now, the full video versions can also be found on my YouTube channel for Paint the Medical Picture. So I wish you guys all an amazing and very, very happy week ahead. Thank you guys so much for listening on today's very special 200th episode. And I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.